back to another episode of Basketball Culture. I'm Ebony.
I'm Tyler, and today we've got a new guest with us. If you want to introduce yourself real quick.
I'm Ben Knight.
Great to have you. So, before we get started, just have a quick little quiz just for some fun, test some of your basketball knowledge. And so to start, name 2 players who have won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same year.
Michael Jordan.
Yep.
David Robinson. Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah, there we go. There was 3. The other one was Giannis, but you got the 2. So, also, since you've had a long coaching career, I added a question about a coach. Which coach has the most wins in NBA history?
Popovich.
Yes, sir. And now, kind of relating to the first one, couple names might show up again. Name 2 players who have recorded a quadruple-double. And there's 4 in history.
David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal.
Dave Robson, yep.
Giannis. It's got to be an old time. Wilt.
You're missing one you mentioned before in the first question.
Hakeem.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hakeem, David Robinson, Nate Furman, and Alvin Robinson.
There you go. There's some old timers in there.
Yeah.
I missed.
And now, 4 times a player has won MVP, scoring champ, first team all defense, and a championship in the same year. And I'll give you a clue. One of the players has done it more than once.
It's Jordan twice. Jerry West. Kobe.
No.
Ooh. It's a good one. Oscar?
No. I'll give you a clue. I was kind of dishonest at the start there. It was actually MJ all 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah, he's done it 4 times himself. So it's pretty
There you
crazy.
go to me.
Yeah. And then to finish it off, we just got some nicknames, and then you can guess who the player is. So we got the Birdman.
I know his name. Played for Denver. He's supposed to come play for the Kings. White boy, lots of ink. Should know. I'm stumped at the moment.
It's Chris Anderson.
That's it.
Yeah.
The Kings nearly signed him.
Then we got the Unicorn, kind of a newer one.
I'd say it's Porzingis. Was maybe in the first one, yeah. But I'd
definitely.
say Wemby now.
Then we got another new fella, Time Lord.
Oh, I love him. Robert Williams.
Yes, sir. Then we got maybe a lesser known one, Candyman.
Candyman. Modern?
Nah, 2000s, 2010s about.
Don't know the Candyman.
Michael Olowokandi.
Ah,
And then-
love the Clips.
Yep. And to finish it off, since, we're in Australia, I got the Great Barrier Thief.
I love that though.
Yeah,
That's
it's
Dyson Daniels. He's
Yes,
bowling
sir.
right now.
He's hooping at the moment.
His brother's dash is supposed to be could be better. Melbourne United
Yeah.
just locked him up this week.
Oh, damn, that's
Be
interesting.
next star.
Yeah. And, yep, did pretty solid on the quiz.
Good
Couple
questions.
hard ones there,
Yeah.
a couple hard ones.
Some of the older guys, that's where I need to do more research with some of them because there's some eras there. NBA's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Guys have done work
Yeah.
for a lot of years.
Yeah, I always love hearing the quiz because, I don't really have that much basketball knowledge, to be honest. So I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm learning something new every week or every time we do this. Now, Ben here has a very impressive resume with basketball. But before we get into all of that, we've got our segment, This Week in Basketball, and, what's been happening. So first, as we know, my team's Miami. That's like my thing. I go for Miami Heat, in love with them. We're going to exclude what happened today,
Yeah,
and we've
watched that.
been pretty good, other than today.
Yeah. A
And
bit down versus Detroit. Something weird's going on culture-wise because there's all this rumours about Jimmy because they haven't extended him. So it's like, if they're not going to extend a guy, then usher him for a trade.
in some trade rumors
it's making
as well.
me worried,
Now's the time it all
very
starts.
worried.
He's 34. It's hard. And to be fair, Pat Riley's legit. But you're not giving someone a bag of money if they are not getting through, most of the season. It's tough. I love Jimmy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jimmy's my
Jimmy's
guy.
a hooper. Jimmy's a hooper. He's been linked to some trade rumors with the Warriors, which is my team, and I'm kind of on the fence about if we should get him because obviously he's a great player and stuff, but kind of injury prone. So, but in other news in the NBA, we got the NBA Cup Finals. I think tomorrow might be Bucks versus Thunder. Who do you guys have in that?
I think it's going to be tough. I think OKC's real short, but I think Shea Gilgeous is a problem. I think they got no one to guard him. He's a beast, but Giannis has turned it up with Middleton back, and the way they've on this run, they've gone 10-2 since a bad start. They've made the most threes they're going. So if they get that going, a one-game final. But I don't know. There's something about the Thunder to me. They're built right. They coach really well. They guard every position. Guards. They're long. They're fearless, and I think they learned a lot last year. So I'm going to take OKC.
Yeah, interesting. I feel like it'll be a real battle between like two MVP candidates, really, SGA and Giannis both hooping, but. I feel like Giannis is just going to be too much. Like,
I think Hartenstein will give him some trouble.
Yeah.
But it would have been good to see Chet because Chet's obviously not. It's not going to be able to just take him the whole time. But it would have been good to see where he's at with that. But I think Hartenstein and Jalen Williams maybe they might get some minutes on him. But I think it's like Giannis gets his, but it's making it hard on the others.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, personally, I think Miami's going to win. Now I'm joking. I don't really watch like other NBA teams, to be honest. I just really watch Miami because like
you're doing basketball culture.
Yeah, I try. I just get bored.
There's a lot of games.
Yeah.
This NBA Cup, I think, has been a fantastic idea. And to see some of these young players, and LeBron talked about it last year, that they're making a couple of $100,000 because they're on two-way contracts or 10 days and got $500,000 each. Now the best cheerleaders, the joy in their eyes, and they never played at all.
Yeah.
And tomorrow it's $1 million each player.
Damn.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they would have been keeping it on the low down in Vegas, but that would be a tough spot to be there for 3 or 4 days. But it's been confusing, I think, to a lot of people. But now I think the second year you understand it with the way the courts are, each game, the way it was scheduled. And it's just another genius marketing employed by the NBA who's always cutting edge to just give them a bag of money and make them play and get more interested in the second month of the season. And it's working. They're playing harder. It's more entertaining. So
definitely.
I think it's worked.
Yep. Yeah. I think the next step in that as well is kind of we need to revive the All-Star game. It's been past couple of years has been kind of subpar, and I heard there was some talks doing a new system kind of, so I guess we'll see how that pans out in a couple of months.
It's hard. The dunk comp, you've seen it all. 3-point shooting, the skill's okay, but dunk comp's tough when you've seen every dunk possible. Exactly. It's hard to keep doing it, but the game itself, it's not I guess what it was,
Back in the day.
Still All-Star weekend.
Yeah, I watched, I don't know if you guys know, there was like a creator game the other day, like, I don't know, PlayStations, of like YouTubers and like stuff that do content. And that was, they went hard. Did you watch it? Or
I didn't watch it, but I caught the end. I think there was a game winner.
Yeah, at the end there was like a game winner. I'm like, bro, this is what the All-Star game needs to be like. Like, why are the creators like going hard? Like, NBA players need to do that for All-Stars.
So hard to keep it close though.
Yeah.
So one team's always a 20-point swing either way. Whoever's hit more threes and whatnot, neither of them play defense.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like first to 200, I feel.
Especially nowadays, people don't want to risk injuries and stuff. Whereas back in the day, it's like they just want to win. They don't care what game it is; they want to win. And
the last quarter, I think they get it going. That Kobe, the rule they had for a while was good. Like first to 24, wasn't it? After a point, but you're down 20. One team when it gets there, so it's pretty tough to catch that up.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving on to our next segment. So, as we know, the podcast is called Basketball Culture. So we have a question for you. What is your definition of what basketball culture means?
Well, for me, I guess it was a big part of my life. I started playing very late, from the western suburbs, and for me it was like the fashion, the coolness around it, the hip hop that I got into, and then if you got the game to back it up, and it was all about the game to me. So if I got the game and the game on the street, a lot of shit talk, it's a podcast, I can say that, that's what it was, because Jordan to me was my idol, I went from Wayne Pearce in rugby league, which is great, which I'm never going to play rugby league really, to seeing Jordan play basketball, and then captivating to me, winning the championship against LA Lakers. It was a changing of the guard from the end of an era with Larry Bird and Magic basically passing that baton on to MJ. So the culture embodies a lot of that to me. And it taught me a lot about how I want to live my life or dress, what style, the way you talk. So it's got a lot, basketball. And I mean, it's the basketball culture, but it's baller. It's baller culture, baller life, and that's sort of what I think it's. It's taken its own life, I guess, in Australia, but it was very Americanized, I guess, is the way that a lot of that was presented with the game and how exciting the NBA product was. And everybody is into the NBA, from my friends on. Everybody in this country has always watched it, has always been into it. So that, I think, is a great piece of Australian basketball culture. But for me, it really started through the States and how that's filtered through, and you can see the generations, how it's coming through in our players and the style of play, and how great we are as Australian players competing in the NBA day in, day out. There's a lot more coming.
Yeah, love to see it, love to see it.
I'm sure for a majority of hoopers, MJ was an idol, and kind of in a more personal light to you, we asked you to bring some items that might be special to you, if you want to kind of explain what you brought and what they mean to you.
I'll go from this one here's I was stuck on 399 games as a pro in the NBL after first time I contracted in 1995 to really sit on the bench with the Kings when I was really young, and so I had 4 stints with the Kings, but stuck on 399, so 400 is like what you want to get to. So it's a ball there, which ended up being 402. So I've shown you that.
Yep. Special item right there.
And that same sort of year, with those 4 stints, somebody had 33 and was my number. So Jordan, 23 was a given. I didn't want to be like that, but Pippen was my guy. Pippen was the guy I tried to model my game on, that, and Larry Bird. So that's the hybrid of that. And 33 I could not have. So Damien Keogh had it the first year, then Bruce Bolden had it. So I had 32, or 10 then 32, and then 32 again when I came back to win championships, and then I finally got night 33 one finally. So I thought I'd bring that one in as an autograph one.
I love that.
Which I think might have had Childress that are on it with the team that year. But these I couldn't find the championship jerseys. I've got a lot. Remember, still got the record. I think for NBL teams is nine of those. And then to finish, I like rings, so we play for rings. That's the ultimate statement to say how many rings you got, and we ain't got any. It's hard to keep talking that smack.
Yeah.
You back it up. So one is a championship ring, and then the other one is pretty much like the Ring of Honour, which is like a Hall of Fame with the Kings that I was given 3 years ago, I think, which was, meant a lot, no doubt. It was presented before the game. But the interesting story about the championship rings is the third championship. This was stolen from my house when I was broken into once I was coaching. So that's the trouble when you are coaching or playing. It looks like you're home, but if I can see you on television or somewhere, you're not really home maybe. By chance they got it, and then I thought this thing was gone, followed up with the police several times. The Daily Telegraph did a story on it because a few of the NRL boys, some of the South boys, had theirs stolen, so this whole thing about rings being stolen. And then my mum felt horrible about it, so we're going to hit the guy up who custom makes these down in Melbourne. And then by chance on a Friday night, a friend quickly gave me a call, Tommy Garlop. He was about to do a pre-season game for the Flames in WNBL, and he said, I think they found your ring. Someone's going to ring you from Virgin Airlines in Perth, and hung up. I've got to go, I was just like, wow, this is like 18 months down the track. So I don't know how or what, if it gets out there in the universe from your lovely podcast, but someone took it, and then it was somehow found loose on the plane in Perth. So I went from Sydney to Brisbane to Perth, and was loose on the bottom of the plane, and when the cleaning crew came through, they found it loose because they didn't take the box that was in, so it's still home. And that's sort of how, then I was paranoid about how to get it back from Perth. So I was like, I'll get someone to come and pick it up. But it was, it was good to have this back in my life because they're hard to win. I've won one and lost two. Yep.
I guess sport doesn't lie. When you're a legend, things happen in your favour. So I'm glad you're able to get that back.
Thank you.
I like that. All right, now moving on to our more personal questions. So I guess we'll start at the start. What was your childhood like? Do you mind opening up to us and sharing us?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty, a lot of love, I guess, from my mum. She just was destined to be a a mum, you know, that's what she always wanted, but she'd already worked hard and sort of had our place out in St Mary's. I grew up St Mary's North, but you know, the culture, I guess around there was like rugby league, like a lot of footy, a lot of tough, but like a lot of, you know, it's tough love out there, you know, a little bit. I think it did wonders for me in a way. So, you know, A student, you know, from primary school, and then school captain, primary school. Never looked at basketball. It wasn't, you know, soccer for 10 years. Little athletics was probably where I learned to throw things and jump, and I was very good cardio. I got a big motor. Long distance running was a thing that I always had as a base, but obviously getting quicker and sprinting for the sport, basketball was something I had to work on. But that was it, you know, like typical kid, lots and lots of summer now just reminds me of like cricket, tennis always was something that sort of the summer sports. And yeah, my father passed away when I was 13, and that was probably jolted me a little bit in high school. A little bit lost for a while, left school in year 10, but I enjoyed, so I was gone from this A student to, yeah, just probably mucking up a bit, taking the easy path, wrong crowd, same story. So I made the choice to leave in year 10 because I was like into building and architecture. So I left to study that, and I was at Lidcombe TAFE for a while, and then hanging out with adults, I guess you're saying. You're hanging out with like playing men's basketball, then working with men, hanging out, no photo ID then, so I could get in anywhere. I was starting to grow, but still not that tall then. I was lean and long, and then from 15 in that period, just grew up 15 to 17, had to become a man, grow up, support my mum, and really realise what path you're going to take in your life. You know, there's many out there, and heroin was a big one out there. Heroin flooded the market and people ODing everywhere, left, right and centre. So that was probably the drug out there back then, and seeing people on the nod. So, you know, a lot of housing commission together was an interesting concept for that way, all the way through to Mountie County, which is sort of part of my hood. And I started playing basketball in the back of Mount Druitt at the Coca-Cola Stadium, and like 15 mucking around, and 16 sort of got into it, and then that's Jordan, right? That's the whole influence. So that sort of guy to look up to and just see that, like, this dude is impressive. Like, you just saw him the first time with the ball and what he's doing, and just the passion he played with and whatnot. It was something I could do by myself too with a ball. Where soccer, I probably could have, like, I guess I'd look at it now, individual sessions where I'd take 100 shots like I teach kids now to shoot 100 threes and just bend it like Beckham. But that was something that never happened. It was all social. But basketball lit a fire in me somehow, and then I got, you know, I was starting to get it, you know, but I could worked on it myself, and then I started to grow. So I grow 7 inches. Plus I'm also 7'1" this way. So a typical pro basketballer is going to have 2 to 4 inches, if not more, in length. That's just the metrics that you're going to get, you know, recruited or looked at, and then just grinded through the process. You know, really got into a state squad early, and again I was playing with men, and I go back to play with boys, and I just played harder, I felt, than everybody, and maybe was not the most skilled, but work ethic. And I had a lot of idols. Dennis Rodman was a guy that I looked at how he rebounded. I thought, take pieces of that. Then again, Larry Bird, the way he scored, so white guy, whatever. Then Scottie Pippen was the ultimate to me. The definition of what LeBron and a lot are now is that point power, you know. So it's like that forward that brings it up, 6'7", 6'8", bit of a utility man, can do it all, and that's the way I want to play the game. That's how I believe it should be played. And then I got a shot, I guess, with the Kings had their eyes on me, because the bus was massive in the 90s. You've got to realise, like, your kids have no idea really what it was like to entertain. So we sold out every single night, Friday night. It was the biggest ticket in town, and ran off the NBA, and we're just poor at marketing it, I guess, in some ways, in the players, but it just was running off the success of the Bulls and Jordan and the NBA, how it just globally flicked, you know. So tour to the States at 17 opened my eyes up to I could do anything I want and believe anything in my life I can do it. So that investment that my mum saved and worked a lot of hard jobs to give me a few dollars to give me the opportunity to go, that opened my eyes up in 1993. It was Snoop Dogg's first album it dropped, and it was like, this is cool. Played all over the West Coast and dominated. And I was like, okay. And then I saw the Lakers in the Forum playing the champions, the 2-time champions that year, the Houston Rockets, where I called Hakeem Olajuwon play, and that was special. I think it was Drexler, Kenny the Jet, and that was come back from that, and it was like, okay, right, that was the next step. So yeah, I got a shot to pretty much be a semi-pro basketball or go to college. So I had many opportunities and offers to go to college, but I felt I wanted to play pro basketball and do that all day. I thought it was the best job in the world. Why not give that a go? And that's where the Sydney Kings gave me an opportunity in '97, and I guess I never looked back from then. You know, there's a lot of it's a long way from there going on, but the childhood got me to that point, and then moved out of western suburbs at 19 into Kensington, where the Kings had an apartment, and then that was sort of like, okay, you got to learn to cook, clean, you know, look after yourself a bit more, and that's a real growing up period in your life that was pretty awesome. In the eastern suburbs and living near the beach was like close to that was pretty awesome.
Wow, great story there.
Very long journey. Do you think the hardships you kind of faced earlier on when in your childhood, do you think that kind of shaped the person you became and ultimately that the player you became?
I'd have to say yes, there's parts of that, no doubt. Like you'd love to that it was a bit smoother in some other ways, but yeah, it's got me to the point where I am now. But it was my mother, I guess, in my life and the influence, how supportive she was, and you know, I was taking some dark roads at times and just thinking what she might have been going through here. But she was always like supportive and just there, you know. But knew the right amount to just let me know, to pull my head in a little bit, right, at times. But mums always know. You know, I guess that's it. So. But yeah, I guess that, and it's the crew of friends. You have that first high school, group sort of, unless you stay right through, great. But then people either decide to go through senior years or not. I left, came back to St Mary's Senior High, ended up, which was unbelievable. It was a 3-to-1 ratio, girls to boys, which was pretty awesome for me. It was very loose, very loose with the uniform and all that. It was like a really, really good place for me to go to want to do my senior years in school. And then you got that crew of friends, and then straight out of that is your first lot of adult friends, my basketball sort of friends from a Penrith way, I guess, is really who I ended up being a junior for. And that's, I guess, in a very short time, you've got 3 different real cliques of friends, and they've been friends for life. So that's been, the relationships is what, for me, is what's special about what I'm building and a long-lasting that you get through this game and through life.
I want to touch a bit about your dad as well. I mean, I don't know how your relationship was with him, like if you were close. But me and Tyler actually lost our dad at a young age as well. Yep. So I was only 10, he was 8, right?
About,
yeah. And I think that really shaped, that was really a turning point in my life. Like losing him so young, it really shaped the person I am today. So I was wondering, did that shape you, or was it just a little bump, obstacle?
I felt that, he wasn't really there for me at times. Anyway, Mum was always the one there. Mum was always the one hustling to get me to everything. And fair enough, he worked at his own hair salon in Penrith Arcade and was non-stop doing that. But it was like the Saturday sport that you do as a kid. You expect your parents to be there, both of them. It was hard, but she was just always the one, so I was just used to that. So once it was gone, it was a shock, obviously. Happened quick, but it was, he was a fitness freak, but he smoked 80 cigarettes a day, things that, so it'll always catch up with you, something, no matter how fit you are. And it was literally, you got 3 months to live, and it was 3 months to live. So you had time to prep, but it was it just went downhill pretty quick. So it's a good way to, in some ways, it toughens you up to understand there's life and there's death. And, it's something you see. I watched him pass, at the end. But it's, it's definitely shaped me in many ways to be a man quicker and grow up like that, because it was something that you talk to, your mother more about things, and she opens up and you build that trust that way, and you find out a little more of what it takes to be a man and how you should treat a woman and things like that, right? And not to treat them. So that was probably a big eye opener. But the next thing, I'm balling, I'm going, and then I'm away from my mum straight away. So that needed to probably happen anyway to move out of home. But just the way the journey of my career went, it was not in Sydney.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I've met your mum a few times before. Beautiful woman. There's such a kind heart and soul. And yeah, I think, seeing that and seeing who you've become, how you are, I can see how it shines through you. So I really love that. You got that connection with your mum.
Yeah, that's it. It's, you only got one mum, right? It's pretty special.
Definitely.
She's still hanging in there. So shout out to my mum. She was trying to come today, but she's battling.
Hopefully things go good. Do you have anything?
Just when you're talking about how you came into your teen years and discovered basketball and stuff like that, you mentioned you played for like a lot of teams over the years. So how do you think that kind of shaped you? Like, rather than playing for just one team, like you got different cultures or different roles within the team that also helped you become the player you ultimately became?
Yeah, it was a couple of South American boys that I remember, and it's happening right now. That's why I've been busy on a Saturday with my training facility that I've got in my programs. The soccer fields are just so precious. The grass is wet shut. So I was just sick of like these fields being shut week after week. And they're like, I would play soccer and then go play ball up at Cambridge Park. So I'd be like, I can just, it's indoors, so it's on every time. So next thing, that's how it started. So it was a couple of Chilean boys, the Moya brothers, that it started with. And then from there, there's so many Filipinos that I grew up in the hood, and that's their national game. They're nuts about basketball. And then obviously, the whole crew in the western suburbs, all the Mountain County boys, Polynesians, Tongans, Samoans, a lot of crew like that. They could all ball and we're all good. So it was just our runs and scrimmages alone were that physical and tough. No blood, no foul territory. It's a good way to play, in many ways. But then from the journey from that, where I got to go to just like Sydney to Melbourne, it was Melbourne to Brisbane a year. And all these places, I'll keep going, but I wanted to stay. I had long-term deals, but teams kept dropping out in the NBL. So the NBL was hot and it was great, and then it suddenly got to this thing where teams were just dropping out, and like there was 3 teams in Melbourne. I go and signed with the Magic with Brian Gorgon, the best coach I've ever had and a great mentor. He was recruiting me for some time. The Sydney Kings had nothing for me at the end of that season, and I was doing work in the CBL. I was putting up numbers, and that was recognised where the Victorian coaches and clubs were seeing it. So they had already had their eye on me, and so I'm leaving a team that can't even get the playoffs to go to a championship caliber team with 6 Olympians. So that's a no-brainer. So it was the toughest choice to leave, but to understand, to do your real apprenticeship in the game, that's where you got to go and earn respect with people like that, a winning culture, and you just got to turn up and just get respect by just doing the work each day. And that's thrown around because people don't see the work. People just see the results or see what's done. So the work, and that was disappointing that after 1 year on a 3-year deal that they merged with the North Melbourne Giants, and Brett Brown lost the job, Gorgon got the jobs. That's a guy that ended up coaching the NBA in Australia, and they merged to make the Victorian Titans. So that was tough. Then Brisbane, had a year there, most improved player, and I thought I was going to be re-signed by the club and was guaranteed. I'm in China playing and talking to my agent. Nothing happened, and then it was a move there with coach signed his son, Simon Curl, which is just the way it worked. But basically the two, he was a guard, shooting guard, and the only spots that were left were 2 big guys, so there was 2 imports. So Brisbane and then the Queensland culture. So then a year in Townsville. That was a really positive year, 6th man of the year. I had to do it tough though there. Made no money, so I knocked back so many jobs that I had, and then relying on a team to sign you, and that doesn't happen. That's where it's cutthroat. You learn that real quick to take care of yourself and your own business and make sure you're manager, and you got to look at, do you take that deal straight away and lock it up? Because once it's not done till it's signed, it's a lot of handshaking and talking and blah, blah, blah till you sign that deal. It's not guaranteed a lot of the time. But so they end up being a year in Townsville, 3 years in Cairns, which was awesome, like to really experience what Queensland was like. But I guess the hardest thing was to go from nearly winning a championship with Townsville, and we lost to the Perth Wildcats in Townsville in Game 3, and Paul Rogers had just come back, who had been in Europe balling, and he got drafted 2nd round with the Lakers. Kobe went 1st round, he was 2nd. He was balling with him in the Summer League. And anyway, he came back and he was dominant, and I thought who won that series would get it. But to move on to say it's my time to start, where I was coming off the bench, and that still would have been my role, but to accept losing to build is a tough choice. But there's also money. So there's more money, starting, get more shots, develop your game, turn this into a winning franchise. And that's what the move to Cairns for me was, because they were literally like a very good Siebel type state league team that went into the NBL ambitious and went 2 wins, 26 losses their first year. So coach got fired, impulse got fired, a lot of movement and change, and then it was a 3-year plan, was the plan to go to Cairns Taipans and build it from 2nd season up, which we did. We won 6 games that next year, 9 games the 3rd year, and 13 the one after that. Now you're right, talking playoff time. And so I had to move again. So I don't know if you want me to keep going about it, but it's a lot of teams to get through in a lot of years. So that takes me to millennium when the world was coming to an end, 99, 2000, I was the white knight then. So I literally said white.
And did that like affect your mental at all? Like going through like so many teams and like you said, you didn't always know if you'd be signed and like you in Queensland and stuff, or was it just keep going?
It adds a layer of toughness to you. It adds a layer of, any situation you can survive. So you're moving, right? You got to move to a new city. You got to get it's a new place to live. Hairdresser. Where buy food? Like it's tattooist. Where you go through a whole thing. So it was a fun journey all the time, and it's hard to be labelled a journeyman because a lot of it was out of your control. I would have stayed loyal to those teams if they had stayed in the league or even survive. But that's part of the fun, right? The fun you're literally living out of. It's not as tough as the NBA, but you're living out of suitcases and hotels most of the time anyway. It's a lot of travel. So you sort of get used to that in a way. But it's tough, Matt Nielsen and I are very close friends. When we came up together, he stayed that course with the Kings the whole time until they finally won. It was a lot of losing years, a lot of headache for him and a lot of pain. But, he came good in the end. He stuck it out. Well, I went to 6 or 7 teams so I could come back, and then I got to the Kings when he left after the second championship, and I came in for his role. To start as a power forward for the team for that third championship. But yeah, it definitely builds character, that's for sure. And you got to have the right personality. You got to be open to, I was always about spending time with each player off the court. Not a lot of time, but I'm trying to win. I'm trying to be as tight with fam. I'm trying to be as tight as you can. It's harder to find out what makes players tick or not when it really matters when it's on the line. So the more time you spend, have a meal together, hang out, it's going to go a long way. Rebound for each other. I work out exactly, calculate where their misses are. So people don't, this is like high level type little things, but like every player, you're trying to work out where are they missing? Where is the rebounding angles and spots to get it. So, but you spend that bit of time. That's what was fun about it. And the relationships with guys, and different teams had different cultures too. It was like you're just going to room with the same guy. I remember with Tyler every week, every road trip. Other times it's like you got to rotate every single road trip. We're rotating, so you spend time with somebody else. Other player imports had in their contract that they get their own room, which is just the standard thing now. But back then it was always you room with somebody. So it's there's different ways to look at it. But I loved, and you got addicted, I guess, in a way to the travel and seeing the world and seeing the country while you're doing the best job in the world that I ever had. Anyway.
Wow, yeah, I love that. And like the stuff you said about like those little things, like spending time with each teammate and like wanting to win. I was gonna ask, like, how do you think like it is nowadays compared to how it was back then? Because I feel like we've lost like just basketball as a whole. Like I feel like it's gotten a bit lazier. You always hear the stories from like others saying like, it used to be so much rougher back then and all these things. So I want to know like your take. What do you think?
It's definitely rough. Like you look at the football codes and you look at also like what's happened to the football players. They were just getting hit. Now most of those guys got CTE. I know a lot of guys I play golf with now that were legends in the game, and it's like they, a lot of this they can't find it till after. So it's a serious thing with head knocks and whatnot. So lucky basketball's a sport doesn't have a lot of that, but it's just the way the game is. When I first played, I could double hand check somebody and that was it. When you look at it, you get so great at doing that, you can actually, defensively, we can manipulate the offense to such a great advantage that the offense couldn't get free. So do you want to see 80 and 90 point games like the NBA Finals used to be? No. You guys want to see 120 points, right? If not more. So that slowly went, the physicality, the two hands to one hand to hand checking. So you just technically have to be a lot better. I still think they're just as physical and as, if not more athletic and faster and quicker. It's just more on the recovery now. There's more, everyone's got the devices where they can just tell, how did you sleep last night? Before you come into training, are you in the mode of injury, like in that band? Okay, we're going to shut you down. You're going to do it at 60%. And just the way that, the tech is involved in it is just evaluated a lot different because you're the investment. And that, in a way, I think it's tough because we push through it and train. So there's a hardness that I loved about the old school way, but the new school is more they're backing off because their well-being and the investment, particularly in some of these players, it's big investment in them that They've got to get the most out of you. So, you can look at it a couple of ways, but I think it's a lot easier, I think, playing the NBL in some ways now, put it that way. We had back-to-back games. There's no back-to-back. It's not a rule anymore. So it's always a day off in between because there was a chance that if you flew somewhere, you'd miss a flight. They don't have private jets. It's not the NBA, right? So that makes sense. So I don't think you've got any excuse when you go from a Friday, have a Saturday off and play Sunday. You're a little tired. Yeah, it's also a 40-minute game. I played 48 minutes, so my stats are always going to be healthier too. So, come on, 40-minute games. It's not, it is what it is. Don't get me started on that. But I'd rather go back to 48. I think we had that model right. When the NBL started, we were always 24-second shot clock, times on the floor, pretty much the NBA rules by the illegal defense. And anyway, it's debatable, but everything's FIBA, and is what it's like. So, it's but they're getting bigger, stronger, and quicker. That's the big difference, because the body type. I saw Shaq when he first came out here as a rookie. He was on a tour with Fushnikin's a rap tour. You might remember this in Reebok. He came out. He trained at the Kings facility they used to have there, and that he'd still dominate now because he was special. But that sort of size, it's way more guys now. Like my time again, where you're 6'8", 3-and-D guys. There's a lot more jobs like that in a way than you're not 6'10" or you're not 7 foot. You can't have a job. It's harder to get a job because that's what the mould was to fit.
I see you touched base kind of on like the evolution of the rules and stuff like that, but I just want to question kind of like the skill sets of players, because nowadays, like, even high school kids, like, they're all doing 360 dunks, everyone can shoot 7-footers. Kind of like, what's your kind of opinion on how you've seen the evolution of kind of back in the day centers are really screen, rebound, dunk the ball, and now it's like shooting deep.
Well, you look, no one really
stuff.
posts. There's still advantages, right? But for 100 years, it was always the most dominant teams had the best centers in the league, and you just threw it in there, and it still is the way, in ways when it comes down to the finals, in my opinion, because they create a double. Like, you can't stop Giannis, no matter when he can't shoot. So, good luck, right? He's coming downhill at a pace and for speed that is just very, very exciting to watch. But until you see that's alive, it's like, okay, it's interesting how the game has evolved, right, a lot in many ways, but it's positionless basketball, and I think it's something that is now labels and whatever. Like, we were doing two-man game handoffs and playing the game, and it wasn't a thing. We just did it, right? Like, it's not. That's how we played basketball, and like slip screens and do all this. Now it's blowing them up and so on and so on. So it's got fancy, some of the words, and coaching stealing and things are just, something happens in the NBA, trends are happening, and that's why the rules have changed. These trainers and players are so elite and smart. They know how to manipulate the rules, like the Harden rule. You can't. That was where it started, and nobody wants to see free throws. I still think it's gone too far in some ways, because the guy is in the act of shooting, and they're really quick to say it's side, side, side. Well, anyway, there's a lot of little technicalities, I guess, on the way there that are right or wrong, but I think they work overall to get them right. Like the challenges make sense now. You can challenge instead of all these like stopping all the time. The speed of the game is the problem, I think now, and that's, they're taking a lot of time. So how you fix some of that, but the style of game and the players, it's just because you're tall early, you can't handle the ball, you can't shoot threes. I think that doesn't make any sense, because that kid mightn't grow anymore, right? But that's how you are pigeonholed early on, where everything I do, and it always has been, you got to pass, dribble, shoot, you got to create your own shot, add something to your game. Three ball is obviously now, like became a very, very reliable mid-range shooter to 17 feet, I'd say, but we just did not shoot the volume of threes. Well, now I'm going to step out that much far and get an extra point, catch it in. I don't have to make as much of a percentage. And it's just spacing in the game, the spacing and how quick players can turn the corner and move laterally up and down, and the verticality is just going to another level now. So I like that we can take the ball off the rim. It'd be very, very, it was live, very interesting if the NBA ever changed that, because you'd have to think about what that would look like. So, yeah, it's evolving. But now you look at these 7'4" guys, 7'3", 7'4" guys that are like wings that can shoot and play and super quick. That's it's very, very it's exciting.
Yeah,
definitely a good product there.
So I want to go a bit into the coaching now. So you've got a very impressive record. You've won Coach of the Year a few times. You've won championships. What do you think it takes to win the championship, both as a coach, as, you know, a team, as a player? What do you think it takes?
Hard work. You got to put in the work. First of all, you got to be prepared. You got to, you know, be organised. You got to be adaptable. You expect the unexpected. You got to be able to coach on the fly, particularly the lower levels. It's obviously very well organised when you get to the pros, but majority of coaches are probably listening are not doing that. Right? It's very far and few between. Like players that can play pro one or play in the NBA, the percentage is not with you. So you know, you got to coaching stealing a lot of it too. You got to look at certain plays that you like, and they evolve, and that's what the beauty of my coaching career. When I was involved with the Sydney Kings when I retired, I had the NBL, what we were running offensively, defensively, some systems at that time, and I could put some of them into the winter, so summer into winter, into the north in the rep season. That was what was fun to tinker around with some of that, to learn it more, to evolve it and have it myself. But I think just the knowledge and experience I've had playing all over the world and all the different programs I've been in have really helped me a lot to understand, yeah, some of that stuff's cool and it works, but also with rule changes. So you got to be, you got to constantly be up with trends and things like that. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get away from me playing defense, like both sides of the ball, and rebounding. It's still the two biggest areas we talk about all the time, and then turnovers, right? It sounds so basic, but it's possession. Possession wins. So why are you somebody that just throws the ball away all the time, or you won't box out? So you're playing, getting the job done, contesting shots, and then lazy to finish off a defensive possession. You get that. Everyone wants to play transition and run downhill. So so much value in me to have dogs on my team that want to rebound and get the ball, and then I'll let them go a little bit. But if you're taking out of the net all the time, it's a grinder. You're taking it out, and the other team's setting the defense. So obviously getting stops and running, and then just evolving your offense. Just different now. I'm probably with a lot more high school boys, and mentoring them over probably 6 years. I get them in high school. We don't have shot clock a lot, so it's different. It's just a bit more patience. But most of the time I've been wired to score in 24 seconds and really 14. So it's quick hits, and it's like, I think we run a lot of offense. It's pointless. So, it's good to run around and do that, and you don't get shots or it can be complicated. So the simple stuff can often works. Why they go to middle on ball all the time. You can't go one-on-one, but guarding and playing and making decisions off a middle on ball screen, two-man game is still going to be the essence of basketball. You make a decision to take it out of the best player's hands and make someone else beat you. Then you're in rotations and whatnot. From there, it gets a bit more complicated. But, it's fun. It's fun teaching and coaching and mentoring. So now, I'm not really involved in reps or National League. It's something that, it's okay. You're donating a lot of time. Like the NBL's a lot better now, but my time, it's hard to, work 3 jobs, 3 other coaching jobs just to survive to do this top job. So it was very, very difficult and challenging. But I wanted to see the landscape of what took 6 months off when I retired. And I wanted to see what I wanted to do. I was involved in juice bars and health centres and things in Malaysia, a lot of different things over my career I believed in. But what can I really make an impact on or a living on, and particularly here in Sydney? So I wanted to see the landscape. So I took on Norse were the rep team. The Jewish club Maccabi, who I'm still with, is my club team. And then I had a school which was Redlands, a private school, which boys and girls at first. So I wanted to see what that landscape in private school basketball particularly, it's so huge in Sydney, what it's like, So that's where it sort of started, and has evolved into choosing a little bit more now what I would like to do. Along the way I had stints with Denver Nuggets, and there was opportunities there in Sacramento Kings to potentially, really be a trainer. Like years before a lot of guys got in, and now the Aussies are everywhere there, college and the NBA and the pros. So there's huge value in how we teach and how we coach and the systems through Basketball Australia. Why are we so good all the time, consistently? How can we be so competitive on the world stage when people in this country don't realise how big basketball is in Europe and particularly Asia, but competitively in Europe? How often they play Olympic-style basketball week in, week out for their countries. We don't have that. It's really difficult. So it's been a variety of the last probably 12 years since I've been coaching full-time, of where it's sort of gone. The pros, reps, to really focus just on high school boys really now.
Speaking back to how you said you had a coaching job kind of with the Denver Nuggets, were you able to notice differences between like their style of play and kind of how they played compared to Australia and stuff like that?
Not really. Honestly, it's just very, very similar. It's quick hit. It's quicker, and once you turn that corner, it's me and you one-on-one. I'm going to dunk on you, or you're going to challenge me. That's it. So it sets the most exciting platform for entertainment, where we already got two guys ready to help and help the helper. You can't just look at the Olympics and look how hard it is to score. Look at the score. So, yes, there was concept. But what I loved about the Nuggets, and I've still got their practice plans, like I was with them for 5 days in the Summer League prep in the Denver facility, and then we flew to Vegas, 47 staff for one team. It was 47 people, I should say, for it was pretty impressive. That is just Summer League, right? That suite, all that was a real eye-opener. It was a great experience. I was lucky. I got really well connected there. But then they still drilled 10 minutes, or 20, I should say, 10 minutes at each end, doing a breakdown of shell drill. So shell drill is a basic drill that you're just breaking down stance and what you're going to consistently do defensively. They would still drill stuff like that daily, and I thought that was impressive. But it was more the video and the tech of how quick everywhere you went, it was mobile. So you're going and you could just set up projector in every hotel, wherever you were, and it was just like real quick hits all the time. Hey, we're going to look at 10 clips and seeing things like that, and that was where it was evolving to here. Also, it's just manpower and hours, and that's sort of where you have a lot of interns probably still in the NBL doing that work, but that's how you get your leg up and get your way into a pro team. You know, you can be on the bench and be a part of it, but you've got to cut up all the tape, or we say, but the video and whatnot. But it was definitely a real eye opener of the styles, but just more the athleticism that you can see that it was more talented players like Jokic and Nurkic were there at Denver, right? And 50 odd teams slipped on Jokic. Like, would you slip on him now if you saw him? I don't think so. So you could see that. I could see that, but it was like the general recruiting thing for the NBA particularly is athleticism, vertical leap, because we can teach you all the other parts. Well, can you teach IQ? I don't know, but that's just sort of what I noticed, that more guys got picked that obviously were very athletic, and that's how it is, because they're going to mould them into great players, and the skills coaches, that's what they do. But it was just amazing that how quick they move and compete vertically. That's what was the biggest eye opener, and with that platform where it's so open, so much space, the extended 3-point line further out, so much more room to go to work and play. So you don't need to run as much offense.
Yeah. I feel like it's a very underrated aspect of basketball, how to be successful, like the X and O's. Like, ultimately, like, if you're skillful, yeah, you can play, but like you brought up, the IQ, that's why players like LeBron, Chris Paul, even Draymond, like, they've had long, successful careers because they know how to play. They understand basketball at, like, ultimately the deepest level. And yeah, you might not need all these, like Draymond's not necessarily super athletic. He's undersized for his position, but still able to compete defensively, one of the best defenders. So it's definitely underrated aspect.
You're right. It's a good point. It's reading the game. That's what it's talking about. You're reading it. Like, the great scorers can read. That's why the evolution of a lot. But Shea Gilgeous, particularly, they're moving the ball. They can read. They can suck one in. They can see exactly where they're rotating and move it to the right guy, and why they're consistently getting wide open threes. Now you're giving up lob dunks. You're just giving that up because the three in the corner, it's more valuable. So it's like, well, that's what they're deciding to give up. So you got to understand, is that what they're going to give up and allow us to take all night in this game? And that's the thing about the coaching on the fly and understanding quick and adaptable. And that's the IQ part that a lot of players can't work that out. Great training plays as well. I've seen heaps of those. Great, make shots in training. Can you make 2 in a row, 3 in a row? No. So that's the thing where a lot of players don't last, right? If you don't evolve and get better and add stuff to your game, there's somebody else that's going to be adding pieces to their game. Is going to mow you down real quick. It's pretty cutthroat. Average pro life, I think, ball is like 3 years, like every pro sport.
Yeah, and speaking of like IQ, because like one thing, like, because I coach now as well, just with some younger kids, I've been like trying to figure out like, how do I teach them like IQ? Like, is there a way to teach them that, or do they have to go out and like watch basketball and like learn it? Like, because you said, IQ.
It's hard to teach.
Yeah.
You can get there, but somebody that's got high IQ and understands it, you would have seen it there, IQ in a classroom or other things that they do in life. They can put it together, but you can read the game and can just see it. So with all sports, I was able to sort of do that in ways, but yeah, it definitely can be taught. But I was a student of the game too. That's the thing. I think that's the missing link. You talk about all this hype because basketball's cool. We're talking about the culture, all this, right? Everyone's just doing it, doesn't really know. Really, you're repping a jersey and they're, got the guy's shoes and they don't really know what's up.
Yeah.
So, and I get it. That's just trends. That's just a lot of things in life. But it's the watching the college first all the time, then watching the transition from the college is where I first got obsessed with basketball. Don Lane, Monday nights, ABC replay. I was like, what is this? And it was like Duke, the Blue Bloods. It was Duke, North Carolina, these battles. And it's like, wow, like that was, you know, and they're kids, they're 18, 19, 20 years old on the biggest stage, on the pressure, how they handle it. Okay, you can start to work out, you're going to relate and get to the league and the big show. But, man, so many of you are not, right? It's 30 number one draft picks, 30 lottery picks, and there's thousands in schools. So, you know, it's just studying and watching and really being, you're into it or you're not. So it's full commitment. I'm not so spending extra time with the coaches, understanding the plays, because I wasn't somebody that got it straight away. The X's and O's you talk about. Now I can draw it, you know, no problem, but it's like they draw it, I didn't exactly get it, so then you'd walk through it. That's what we call walkthroughs a lot. 5-on-0s you do a lot and reps, and then sometimes other players on your team, you need to do that. You need to understand they're struggling. That's what the time off the court's about. And then obviously the video is the best way to analyse and see that. So there's a lot of ways you can teach and do that, but are they really, how much time are they putting into it to learn? It's not going to be 5 minutes just chucking it on.
Yeah, yeah.
This game's not interesting. And what are they watching? Are they watching the one player? So I actually get them to watch a player off the ball or something. Don't watch the player with the ball. Watch what Curry does off the ball. I just watch one player sometimes and just see exactly what they're doing, how they're talking. Then they're mic'd up more than ever. You look at the communication. Can you communicate effectively under pressure? Not too many can do that. They get tired. First thing that goes the hands. They get lazy. Then the voice. Then the IQ's going to suffer. Now you're in big trouble. You got 3 guys out there hurting you. So that's why I think the rotations are really quick as well now. Sometimes like the Kings are rotating, and that's something they do, and it's been successful. But they rotate 2 starting guys in 3 minutes. 3-minute break, come straight back on. You know, I'd rather play 8 to 10 straight a whole quarter.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just
Same.
that's where there's a lot of different ways to look at that. But students of the game is a big one. You know, you really. And multiple. Watch girls basketball, watch college, watch NBA, watch the NBL, because that's what you're teaching. Watch the NBL over and over. Watch EuroLeague, because you got to understand the NBA's fake. It's not real basketball. So they have different rules that can bail them out over and over and over. Now, we all love it. Don't get me wrong. Best of 7, I'm going to watch that. Love that time of year. But for what we're trying to teach and see, we have FIBA rules, and it's a very, very different way. And Olympic basketball is excellent basketball.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, because like a lot of the time, like young kids, you know, everyone finds NBA entertaining. Obviously, that's what it is. It's entertainment now. But like when you're actually studying the game and like learning about the game, it's not always the best thing to watch, because like you said, like it's fake. It's there for entertainment. So yeah, you got to watch those other stuff as well, like college ball, women's basketball, EuroLeague, like there's all these different leagues and basketball out there to watch. Like it doesn't just have to be NBA.
That's right. It's getting more accessible too. That's been the issue, right? The NBA is easier to watch, right? They've got so many betting platforms, which is so you can just watch it, right? There's many ways. It's on most times through the day. Any pub you can go, or club or whatever, you can go and watch it at, right? Which is great, because through the day's always worked for us. When the games are on here through the day, it's perfect for me. But night time, it's getting there. But yeah, the NBL's growing, but it's still. ESPN covers it all. Like we've got those 1-2 games on a Sunday on free to air, and Channel 10 are doing a really good job now putting it on 10. But it's got to be able to be free to all in every game. And that's what the NBA globally has done an incredible job, and it's why it's so popular.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really important point as well. Yeah, just that availability to watch. Like I was trying to watch some NCAA games, and like I couldn't find anywhere. I'm like,
that's so hard.
I want to watch it, but it's not available. Like
not
in Australia,
live. You can probably get it replayed straight away on YouTube and that do it. But you're right, they've all got so much money in those separate conferences now. That's another whole story with what players are making in college. And it's great. Big ups to them. And the girls in LSU are making $750,000 a year, whatever. Why would I go out to the WNBA? And I think it's base salary's $200,000 or something. That.
Yeah, something like that.
I feel like nowadays it's definitely a big advantage the players have, like the convenience. Like you don't know how to get started on YouTube. There's thousands of videos of drills, of games, of everything to watch. Like I feel like back in the day it would have been a lot harder to try to kind of be like face to face. You'd have to ask coaches and stuff. Whereas now it's just easily accessible, and yeah, you can really learn if you really want to. Basically, it's what it comes down to.
And you've tried the resources there. You got to put that work in. Same as the coaching, everything, but you're 100% on that's where connections back and it was better. VHS and there's better tapes. If you guys all know, yeah. And so we would get them from the States and people like Jordan's come fly me. It was out, you know. It was a bit gimmicky, but it was still like, wow, like it was inspiring to want to go and work on your game. Gatorade hits it up, be like Mike. Yeah. So, you know, that was tougher, no doubt, back in the day, but there was a way to get it. And we utilised that somehow. We got it. It was the biggest thing. One of the boys has got this new VHS. You go get it all. Some of the college games were taped, but that was a very helpful resource back then, but not like today. Right? It's a lot more out there, which is great. Just like look at the podcast. Could you have done, or you might have got a spot on radio, maybe, but how could you do this back in the day?
Yeah, exactly. I want to touch on as well, like tips for the youth, like for them trying to make it. Like, what do you think is the key things that they should focus on, other than the stuff? Well, including the stuff you've said. Hopefully, they've been listening because there's been a lot already. But yeah,
there's a lot to it. But first thing, you got to like be real with yourself and check yourself like in the mirror, right? And there's a lot of fakeness in the world right now more than ever. So you got to be real and say, I'm gonna try and be the best version of myself. That's it. So that's eating clean, sleep. Look at the starting five, and it thinks about LeBron, who's still, to me, one of the most phenomenal athletes ever. Sleep. It's always on the sleep and the recovery, and that's something that I tapped into really early in the food. So, learn about nutrition and how to plan your meals. Meal planning is so big with what you're trying to do. That's the difference from surviving or not, being injured or not. You come, I've had plenty of teammates that just lazy for 2 months, 3 months, and come in heavy at training camp. I go, no, I'm going to be sharp in training camp. We've had best job in, we've had 3 months. What have you been doing? So they have an injury, then they're straight away they hurt you. You're going to hurt me winning. Now you've killed us and killed me because you're out the first 10 games. So there's a lot of pride in that, but you got to get your mind around the right people. And you wouldn't say you lose friends, but you associate with different people, like-minded friends. So I couldn't go to a lot of parties. Like, trust me, I've partied and done a lot of things, but it's like at that time, it's like you have to sacrifice, every Friday and Saturday to go party because you got to get up at 6 a.m. and go work out with your coach and get 500 threes up. Right, you got to run the track in the middle of the winter, right, at Homebush, right. So you tell me if you want to get up and you're going to get through a warm up, which is 4 laps, then you're going to do 400s, and you do 10 200s and 10 hundreds and 50s, right, and that's the first session of the day. Right, so I'm already ahead of you. You haven't got out of bed yet, and I've already done that. And now I've had 2 meals because I've had a recovery shake, and so now I'm going to the gym to work on the strength side of things. This would be particularly in the off season, right? So that's the time to get better. Like right now, kids are coming, their school's off. Now's the time to get better, right? If they hear this podcast, you want to get better. Now's the time. You don't have the volume of playing games. There's no games on really. You play pickup, no problem. But you can be sore. You want to learn to jump 6 inches high. Everyone wants to dunk, right? Everyone wants to touch the ring, touch the net, maybe, buddy. Right? So now's the time when you can work on these weaknesses and work on your body, and that builds you a stronger mind. Be a student of the game, and then you got to find where you can get good one-on-one games and good scrimmages because you want to get beat up. You want to play with the big kids. You want to go to a run, which I did, where I'm going to be pissed if I lose because I've got to wait for 5 teams to play and they're playing 10-minute games or first to 15. So you lose. You got to sit 45 minutes to an hour. I'm not sitting. I'm here to work out. So, you got to put yourself in a competitive environment. And there's a lot out there to do, but it's just you're going to not burn some friends, but you're just going to lose friends in some ways because they're on a different path than you from what you're trying to do. And that's a good thing about meeting different people and moving around and what I was able to do, associating with that. But the food, the sleep, and that stuff and the recovery is always going to be, the tiny little things that people don't see off the court that takes a lot of work. That why I was rarely injured, why I always was up for training, why I look at it why I got cut a lot, and it's like, okay, from teams, and you go, well, can't wait till I play that coach, and I'm going to give him the business. I'm going to give him everything. I'm going to lock down his best player, and I'm going to score on you, and I'm going to make it look easy, and you're going to feel me. The player's going to come up and say, BK, I was like, man, he hit me, I'm sore after the game. And that's how you want to look. How are you viewed by the others when the game's finished? And so that's how I approach it, play it almost like it's play it like it's your last game, and that's sort of how I attacked it and why I probably played so long, because I was in fear of somebody else was doing more work than me and you might lose your job.
Yeah, I really love that mentality. And like you said, the nutrition and sleep, yeah, that's really important. I think young kids, you know, they think they're invincible sometimes. Like they can just, not sleep, not eat,
Yeah.
not stretch, all these things. And then it's going to catch up to you as you get older. So
Just
you
look
got
at
to.
Starting Five and look at LeBron.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. Check it out. It's one of the best things you'll watch. Right, it's unbelievable. In just inside, the behind the scenes. They're doing it with most sports, but that high level, how they tick, that he's always on that sleep. But his trainer said, 3:20, I think it was 3:30. He's leaving the gym to have his next sleep or whatever to come back or whatever. When he comes back, he's already believed he's beaten you because the work he's already done from the morning. He's prepped. He's doing it still at 40, nearly 40, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I feel like that's another aspect that's kind of been lost in like the newer generations of NBA and kind of players. It's like they want the fame, they want the IG followers, but it's like, do they really care about winning? But that's why I feel like with Wemby, we found a good one. Like
that's right.
When I watch his interviews and stuff, like when he loses, he's generally like, he's despaired. He's like, bro, even the Olympics when they lost, I think he's crying and stuff. It's like, man, we're going to win the next one. And even that stuff, like you mentioned, the rest and recovery, he's doing his stretches. Like this guy's 7'4", and bro, he's one of the most flexible people I've seen, bro. He's touching his toes, full bending over. I was like, damn, like he's.
You're right. You got to learn to compete. You got to learn to compete. You got to learn to win. It's easy to say I'm going to go out and play hard. It's like, okay, that's one. It's one thing. You got to play smart as you play hard. You got to, remember game plans. You got to understand what the coach wants. A lot of things now, not to foul. Like there's a whole lot to that a lot of players struggle when they get to that next level. It's a great ones that just make it look easier, right? And they always feel like they got time.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. You always think you have time, but you got to. Sometimes you don't. So you got to put in the work and play like it's your last game, like you said. Every single game, every single time you're out there. So I think that's really important as well. Is there anything else you can think of?
I think we talked about a lot.
Yeah, how are we for time? Are we like way over? Or are we good?
1 hour, 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty good, exactly on time, yeah. Well, I think, if there's anything else that we ever need to pick your mind about, we can definitely have you on for another episode, hopefully. For today, though, I think we'll leave it there. It's been great having you, hearing you talk about, like, all these things. Like, I loved hearing it. I loved, like, watching you coach, like, Norths. And, like, especially, like, I just wanted to, shout it out a bit because I watched you, do training for Norths, like, a few times when CJ played there. And you went through, like, the tapes and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, like, he wants to win. Like, he's dedicated to winning. He's, like, going through the tapes and, like, talking about, like, oh, what we did here, this was bad. And, like, going through it. And, like, that really inspired me, like, as a player, as a coach. Like, that really inspired me to, like, really push myself and, like, see the game at another angle. So I want to thank you for that because, like, it's amazing. And
I remember you being there, and it was like important. Like that was a lot of work to prep that because you only get 2 sessions a week, right? So it's hours and hours. You look at how much you're going to show. So I just looked at every clip and looked at it. And it's nothing like watching the games nowadays. It's easy. Like Norths are very well organised. Even the lowest grade after the game, Glory League comes, all your clips. It's already the whole game, and that's the way it's evolving. So it's better and better to watch yourself more than ever, but more for coaching and your team. And I tell you, video don't lie. I was over there, coach. Okay.
Yeah.
Last player back. Okay, you whinging? Anyway, like it's a lot to learn about that, and that'll be a good tour. Thanks for having me on. Anything you need, I'd love to be back again. We tried to work it out, but I got here in the end.
Yeah, we got here in the end, exactly. Before we end, is there anything you'd like to shout out or anything like that?
I think I got it all covered. Thanks. My mum was the main one. She was good.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Shout out to Mumsy. Anything you'd like to shout out, Tyler?
Just thanks for coming on. It's always great to kind of pick the brain of a legend and kind of see how you see things. And yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you really like took down some notes and like actually understood like what you need to be working on if you're trying to make it. As always, subscribe, like, comment, and we'll catch you on the next one soon.